Are we getting to a place where there's an actual disadvantage to being a member of NAR, to being a recognized realtor? And, I say that, and I want to make sure that you all understand I take absolutely no joy in saying that. And I hope that that's not going to be the case. But I think you guys know part of my job here, I'm brand agnostic. I root for the industry, and I'm just calling things like I see them. And I've got a lot of friends at NAR, and I've got, just everything. I get it. And I get all the stuff they do. And, but we're seeing some stuff come out now. We are edging closer and closer right now. What's the date today? We are 5 days from when the rules go into place from the NAR settlement. And quite honestly, nobody's waiting till August 17th. Everybody's already kind of making those changes, going to continue to make those changes. But what we've seen in the industry is that you've got a lot of people going beyond even the changes. And one of the things that's come up, I just did a reel on this, and the beauty of YouTube here is I don't have to stick to 60 to 90 seconds, is, I did a video a couple weeks ago how Colorado was the one state in the country, the one state in the U.S. that said that, the NAR agreement, the NAR settlement that said that a buyer's agent has to have a buyer sign an agreement in order to tour a home. Colorado came out and said, no, not up in here. Colorado, the regulators in Colorado determined that a buyer agreement is not required and that they would not be following that because showing a house is technically not part of brokerage duties. And these regulators came out in Colorado and not only said that it's not part of technical duties, but also that it wasn't in the benefit of the buyer, that they specifically wrote that it's not right for a buyer to have to commit to someone before they have any kind of relationship, before they feel comfortable, before, any of those things happen. And they specifically referenced all of the complaints they were getting from buyers and from consumers that felt like they were locked in agreements that they had no business and had no, they did not want to sign, that they did not want, but they felt like they had no other choice. And so there's a couple of questions that this begs. And when you hear me start off this video and I say something like, is there going to become a disadvantage to being a realtor, to being a member of NAR? Again, I do not take any joy in saying that. But there's two reasons why I say that. The first thing, the first question that I want to ask is, Colorado comes out and their regulators say that they will not be following that part of the settlement. And NAR comes out as a result of that and says, hey, your local state laws trump any part of this settlement. So NAR is basically saying to Colorado, hey, you're correct. Like, this is our settlement. This is what we agreed to. But your local state laws trump the rules that we came up with here. So agents in Colorado are not going to have signed agencies, signed agreements in order to tour a home. So the first question that this begs is, why isn't 49 other states coming out? Why are the regulators from 49 other states not coming out right now and going, hey, we looked at this. Showing a home is not considered technically part of brokerage duties. We don't believe this in the best benefit of the buyer. The agents in our area do not have to follow this. Whatever. Like, that is an option, We know that 18 states already had buyer agency, though. This is a little bit different. This is required before even showing a home, outside of going to an open house where that doesn't apply. Although some states, I'll never understand this, have come out and gone even farther and said, no, even at an open house. That's so Gestapo and makes no sense at all. Just adding friction where it's not needed. But that's a video for another day. But for right now, why aren't the 49 other states saying this? And then the second thing that this begs, the question of, or for us to think about and take pause about, is we need to understand that these rules of the settlement only apply to NAR members who are members of their MLS, that are doing business on their MLS. It does not apply to regular real estate agents. And, while the general public may not understand the difference between those two things, the realtor versus the real estate agent, forever people in the real estate community have understood that. And we've understood the value of being a realtor. And we've understood everything that comes with that. And we understood all of the work they did in D.C. and pushing on our behalf and all this kind of stuff. But now we're getting to a place where, I start off this video and I say, is there a disadvantage now? Not only is there any advantage to being an NAR member, is there a disadvantage? Because I want you for a second, this is what I've been doing all the time now. I'm just thinking about this stuff. If I'm a buyer and I am in a local marketplace, I've said to you guys over and over again that when you're looking at these rule changes and when you're looking at the way of doing business, you have to think of it from the perspective of the consumer, not yourself, not what's best for you, from the consumer. And so here I am, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, if I'm a buyer and I'm in a specific marketplace, and I call two different agents, and one of those agents says I have to sign something in order to look at the house. And another agent goes, I'm not a dues-paying member of NAR. We don't have to do that. I can just show you the house. I got to tell you, if I'm that buyer, which one has less friction? Which one am I actually going to go with? Like, which one? And it sucks to say that, but we are now getting to a place where these rules, these regulations, these, whatever, you're now getting to a place where it's very tough to defend the idea that it makes sense to not only create this friction, to not only be living in a world where you have that, but to pay to do it, which, again, does not give me any joy at all. But it's just the reality, because the buyer is going to say, I don't care what your affiliation is. I don't even know the difference between a realtor and a real estate agent. All that money that was spent, I don't have any idea. They spent all that money, NAR did, to try to educate the consumer on the difference between, do you have a realtor or do you have a real estate, whatever. Go ask the average person. They have no idea. I know they can't hear you right now, Tom, but do you know the difference? Like, before this, do you know the difference between a realtor and a real estate agent? And you bought a home. So like, people don't know the difference. It's the only difference I'm going to know from the perspective of the consumer. I have to sign with you to do exactly what that person can do without me signing. I don't know what we're talking about here. And so my fear, it's not a fear, but it's just reality right now, is, are we getting closer and closer to a place where there's an actual competitive disadvantage to being a dues-paying member of NAR, where it becomes more difficult to work with people? We make it more importantly, we make it more difficult for them to work with us. Is there now more friction in place? And I don't want to say yes, no right now. I know what I can say just based on that right there. But this is something I'm going to look into, guys. I'm going to be watching this now, and I'm going to be looking at this much further. And NAR needs to be looking at this and saying, what are we going to do here? Because they're going to be in a world of trouble if this continues to go on and more agents and more brokerages and more brands start to go, yeah, you're making it more difficult. These rules are now literally an impediment between us and the consumer. And at the end of the day, we don't care about you doing this or this person. We care about our agents being able to feed themselves and their families. And anything that's causing a divide between that, or causing an impediment, or causing a divide between that, we're going to get rid of that. Like, we need to make this as easy as possible. This is interesting, guys. So I'd love to hear from you, by the way. I'd love to hear like what you think about what I'm saying. I want to preface again, I can't stress this enough. I've been pro NAR for so long. Not pro everything they've done, but I know a lot of great people there. I know what they do from a lobbying standpoint. I know all of that. Please hear my heart on this. I'm with you on that. But I try to look at everything just like come from outside like an alien here and just look down on it and say, would you do it this way right now? And there's some steps that are unfolding right now that just do not look good from the perspective of trying to, like, I've got my son who's going to be joining real estate, and it's like when I'm telling him what he should or shouldn't be doing from the perspective of creating relationship with the client so that he can build a business that serves his career, that serves his life, that one day serves his family, I don't want things getting in the way. I want whatever the best, easiest path is for him to be able to deal with as many people as possible. Am I crazy, guys? Are there other things I'm missing? I'd love to hear from you. Comment below, guys. But I'm going to be watching this now, and you're going to hear more about this. And this is the kind of stuff I can't do on Instagram or Facebook Reels or TikTok or whatever it is. We're going to do a lot more longer form videos like this with my thoughts on these things that are a little bit more in depth than what 60 to 90 seconds allows for. So if you enjoy this, guys, hit subscribe, turn on those notifications, send it to someone else. We got a lot more coming, okay? See ya.